Welcome to Max's Movie Reviews, the show where I'm going to review movies for you. Today's movie is going to be Black Panther. Black Panther is the newest Marvel film and the newest superhero film to hit theaters and cinemas. I like this movie a lot because I like Black Panther. He's one of my favorite superheroes of all time, and he's definitely one of my favorite Marvel superheroes of all time ever since I was a wee little child. So this film is like a bunch of the other Marvel movies where they all lead up to the Avengers, so you gotta watch them in order for it to make any sense. But this one's a little different because it's kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy, where you don't need to watch everything to understand it. Best is probably just watch Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, and Civil War, and you've got it. You're all set for Black Panther. And it worked. It didn't mention a lot of the other movies, and it stood well on its own. Black Panther was the world's first black superhero in the 60s, and that's really cool because it's really cool to see a diverse hero like that. I really liked Black Panther as a kid because I always thought it was cool to see a hero not from America, but from Africa instead. The story follows Prince T'Challa, also known as the Black Panther, as he goes on a mission to try and stop the evil Claw, who has stolen vibranium, their most precious and useful resource that they have in his hometown of Wakanda. However, Claw is not the main villain. The main villain is Eric Killmonger, an ex-Marine who wants to take over Wakanda. You know, your basic supervillain story of conquering. A lot of superheroes did that. A lot of superhero movies have that. A lot of people think he's the best Marvel villain ever. Good for them. Good for them. I'm glad they think that. I don't think he is. Personally, I still think he's going to be forgettable. The only Marvel villains I consider to actually be memorable were the Vulture, Loki, and Thanos. Other than that, I can barely remember most of them unless they were like really important to me in the comic, like Red Skull. Bad guys isn't the only thing the Black Panther has to face. He also has to face the new responsibility of becoming a king after the death of his dad in Civil War. That's not a spoiler because Civil War came out like 3 years ago, and if you didn't see it, boy howdy, are you a fool. He does a good job, though, as being a royal king. He has struggles, but he gets through them. He has to deal with a power struggle with a local tribe in his kingdom, and that was okay. I actually liked that a lot because in the comics, M'Baku is my favorite Black Panther villain, known as Man-Ape. There's many reasons why they couldn't do him in the movie as they do in the comic. But I think they still did good justice to him, giving him more tribal look instead of a comic book look. What I liked about Black Panther is that I loved the justice they did to the character. Because as a kid, he was one of my favorite heroes with Spider-Man and Cap, with the Marvel Universe. I've always wanted to see Black Panther show up. When I saw Iron Man 2 and they had that Easter egg of the circle around Africa, I knew that was Black Panther and I knew he was coming soon. Granted, I waited another like 10 years, but still, he showed up. Beggars can't be choosers. Another thing I liked is that I didn't hate any of the characters, which was actually really cool. I hated some things, like a "what are those" joke. What are those? Good one. But other than that, I liked it a lot. I liked the action, I liked the story, I liked how it was a very straightforward story. I liked how you didn't have to see any of the other Marvel movies to really understand it, except the two that I've already talked about. And I liked how it was just a genuinely good movie. You can watch it as any person of anything. Granted of how much praise I just gave it, there are a few problems I have with it. One being the CGI. It's so bad. Like, the first half of the movie looks really good. You don't notice it. But then the moment they get to the second half, after this whole scene in like a plane junkyard, the CG is terrible with everything. Like, the cat suits look bad. The rhinos are god-awful. I would rather see a rhino in an animated 3D movie than see that crap in a Marvel film. My lord, it was bad. Lordy, lordy, lordy. It was a bad rhinoceros. That's a good rhino. That's a good rhino. That's a good rhino. That's a bad rhino. Another big concern I had was that it felt a little too long. It felt like there were some things that you could have either shortened or taken out. But it did what it did, and it did what it did good. I liked the acting. I thought the acting was fine. I thought everyone did their role fine. I just, CG effects and time were probably in its least favorable positions for this film. Due to this movie's success, I can almost guarantee it will have several sequels. I don't know what to expect in those sequels. I'm personally hoping for my boy Kraven the Hunter, but I don't know if they'll do that. They'll probably throw him in Spider-Man first and then in Black Panther. But either or, I'll be happy. I just want my sweet boy Kraven. Black Panther's connection to the Marvel Universe is very slim if you just see this movie. They talk about the problems that happened in Civil War, but other than that, there's really nothing else. They don't mention Iron Man or the Hulk or the Guardians of the Galaxy. Nothing is mentioned about it. It's just kind of there, and you just kind of have to assume, which works for the story. Also, there are 2 secret endings to this, so I recommend staying through the credits. And it's worth it. It's pretty sick. Pretty dope and nifty, in my own opinion. Like I said earlier, I thought the CGI fights in Black Panther were not that good. They're not the worst, but they're definitely not the best. If you've ever seen a Wakaliwood film, that is another film based in Africa. The difference is that it's actually from Africa, and the fights in those are just as beautiful. Here's an example. The panther meets the tiger. When I saw the movie, there was a very interesting thing. An entire theater had been bought out by an African-American crowd wearing traditional clothing from Africa to sponsor their love of all the heritage that was going on in the movie. That was very interesting because it did show a lot of African culture with its own spin on it, which really added a good aesthetic to the movie as well. Overall, I liked this movie a lot. I highly recommend Black Panther to anyone who likes cultural movies or like sort of cultural movies, superhero films, Marvel films, comic book movies, cool action films. Black Panther is also a good movie for anyone that wants to go out and see it with friends, family, dates, anything cool. Go see it with your significant other, your family. You'll have a good time. It's a fun movie. It's serious, but it's also fun. It's cool. It's a nifty little ride throughout the jungles of Wakanda. Good for everyone. I highly recommend it. Uncle Drew, in theaters June 29th. What are we at now?
Access Vision, your voice, your community.